Shalom Temple Beth-El family. I've gone from the Bik'ah Kehilot, the Valley of the Communities, to this Beit Knesset, the synagogue, which I'm going to help. I wonder if you can guess where I am now. I'm right now in the synagogue at Hadassah Hospital, with the Chagall windows, these gorgeous 12 windows. And I want to share with you why I've gone from Hadassah from Yad Vashem to Hadassah. We finished yesterday with Rabbi Lau's story, experience, taking a train, liberated on April 11th, 1945. Rabbi Herschel Schechter asks the question when Rabbi Schechter sees Rabbi Lau, the child, the 6-year-old child in this heap of corpses. Where's your father in the gas chamber? Where's your mother? I don't know. How old are you? It doesn't matter. I'm older than you. Rabbi Schechter, how could that be? I'm a grown man, you're not. And Rabbi Lau, the little boy, Srulik, Yisrael, says, because you have tears of laughter and tears of crying, of sadness, and I don't. Therefore, I'm older than you. This is a boy of 6. That's April 11th, 1945. Several weeks later, about the end of April, Srulik Lau is on a train with 219 other boys to Écueil, France. And the woman, the amazing, holy Jewish woman, Mrs. Mintz, who loved and cared for 220 boys at the sanatorium of Écueil, tells the boys that some guests are going to come, the dignitaries from the city of Écueil and so forth. And the boys say, no, we're not going to be there. Of course, they show, and with their heads down, staring in the grass, until Mr. Leibovich speaks, and he tells they're told his story, that his wife and children were murdered at Auschwitz, and that causes them to look up. And Mr. Leibovich stands up to give his talk, and it's 3 words, children, Kinder, dear Kinder, and he breaks out into tears. He weeps, and these boys begin weeping too. After 5 minutes, one of the boys stands up and says, it's been years. I've starved, I've been beaten, I've had no clothing, I've had disease, and I haven't shed a tear. I would never let a Nazi see my tears. I stand for all of you who made this gathering happen to thank you. Not for the gathering we didn't want, not for the gifts that we didn't ask for, but for the ultimate gift of tears. And this boy, whose name was Aharon, said, I now know that someone who can cry one day has the chance of smiling another. Thank you for the gift of tears. That was Aharon of Écueil, as Israel Meir Lau, the rabbi, describes him. Before Aharon stopped speaking at the sanatorium, he said, I want to tell you one more thing. When I was a boy growing up in Lodz in Poland, I would go with my grandfather and we would walk along the river, and he would test me in my Jewish knowledge, and he made me memorize many, 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 many passages from the Tanakh, from the Bible. But after 6 years of this life under the Nazis, I forgot everything, except for one verse, one parak, one chapter of Ezekiel, which says that I felt the hand of God. Ezekiel feels the hand of God, and God says to Ezekiel, who's looking at a heap of bones, a heap of dry bones. God asks Ezekiel, will these bones come to life? Tichiena, will they come to life? And Ezekiel says, I don't know, God, only you know. And then a few verses later, Ezekiel hears God say, "These bones will come together, they will form a body, and I will breathe life, the spirit of life, into these bodies." That's what God says to Ezekiel. And the Aharon&Hadassah says to all the people gathered there, our bodies had come together. You at the sanatorium have helped our bodies. But you, Mr. Leibovich, and your tears have given us the spirit of life. And then Aharon sits down. And Rabbi Lau says, I didn't know what happened to Aharon for 50-some years until I was at Hadassah Hospital in August of 2001 after a horrible suicide bombing at Sbarro's Pizza. And after I met with the doctors, the surgeons who were caring for the injured, the dozens of people who were injured in that suicide bombing case, four doctors were explaining to me what happened. And a man tries to walk by and asks us, "Slicha, yachol la'avor, is it possible that I can pass?" And the four doctors and I, we parted, so we made space for this man to walk by. And as the man approaches me, he says, "Rav Lau?" And Rav Lau was silent. "I'm Aharon. Do you remember me?" And Rav Lau lost his ability to speak, and he says, "Yes, of course I remember you. I remember every word that you said." And Aharon, filled with tears, walks away. The doctors had no idea what was going on. I explained to them that this is not just Aharon, the accountant for Hadassah Hospital. This is Aharon, who for me, Rabbi Lau, it's like a prophet 50-some years ago at the sanatorium of Equi. So Rabbi Lau concludes this story by asking a question. What was Hitler's goal? Was it just to murder as many Jewish bodies as possible? He says definitely not. Hitler's goal was to destroy Judaism, to kill the Jewish religion, not just the Jewish people. And Aharon&Hadassah taught something so profound that one paragraph, a couple verses of the Bible, that's what kept him alive. Aharon told everyone there that I repeated these verses every morning for 6 years. These bones, dry bones that Ezekiel spoke about, God will bring them together and God will fill them with the breath, the spirit of life. And that's exactly what's happened here in Israel. But it's not just about the bodies, it's about our spirits. So we're left with a question on this Yom HaShoah, an invitation, a challenge, a prayer, that our Judaism really not be defined by the Holocaust, that the Shoah be not the central experience, Jewish experience of our day-to-day lives as Jews, as Jewish individuals, but rather that the learning, the growing of Judaism in our bodies and our minds and our souls and our spirits, that we challenge ourselves to learn and learn and learn. And one final thing, that the capacity to cry, that we open up those pipelines of tears of sadness and pain and loss, but also tears of joy and possibility of hope.